What's going on, arcade nerds? I picked up a game recently, and it's a game that I've wanted for a very long time. It's another one of those games, yet another one of those games that I thought, I'm never going to get, I'm never going to find, I'm never going to find all the pieces, it's never going to happen. Well, it's going to happen. It's happening. We're going to fix this game. It might be a 2, 3, 4-part series of videos here, but it's a game that I have wanted since I've begun collecting Vector arcade machines, and it's huge for me. So anyways, it's really important to me. I like this game. I want this game so bad. And you know what it is? It's Konami's Time Pilot 84. No, it's not. This is EXIDY's Tail Gunner 2 cockpit. Now, Tail Gunner 2 was the exact same game as Tail Gunner made by Vector Beam, but it was licensed to EXIDY to make their own cabinet and so on. Now, as you can see, this is in bad shape. Okay. The problem is someone converted their rare EXIDY Tail Gunner 2 cabinet into Time Pilot 84. And, you know, this is something that operators did very often. They did this kind of stuff so they could make money, and this, you know, that's how they made money. One thing that's interesting is, that I think is interesting, is it shows a Vector Beam tag on the back. I mean, it was licensed from Simultronics Vector Beam at that time, you know. So, I thought it was interesting. Do all EXIDY Tail Gunners say Vector Beam on the back? Kind of interesting. Anyways, I have every single part that this cabinet requires. Original. Everything except for side art. Now, this side art is kind of beat. Someone cut it down in the top here. This side's really tore up. But let me tell you how I got this. I got all these parts. Let's go back to about 6 months ago. 6 months ago, someone posted on Facebook. They showed a picture of a Red Baron cabinet that had a weird joystick on it. And I said, hey, that's an EXIDY Tail Gunner 2 joystick. And this is not. This is some weird Bally stick. It looks like it's a Gorf stick. Anyways, I says, hey, that's a Tail Gunner 2 joystick. What do you want for it? And the guy says, I'll give it to you. I think I just paid for shipping. And so I got myself a Tail Gunner 2 joystick. And I was like, wow, awesome. That's really cool. Then but I always kind of knew, well, I'm never going to find a Tail Gunner 2 cabinet. And then a while back, I seen this cabinet on Facebook. And it was for sale. It was an old operator that was getting rid of their stuff. And they advertised it as Time Pilot 84, so on, working, you know, and I either paid, Kelly, I don't remember, was it $400 or was it $700?
I think it was $400.
Okay, I think it was $400 I paid for this. And so, you know, I went around bragging to a couple of my buddies, hey, I got me a Tail Gunner 2 cab. And my one buddy, Brian Armitage, check this out. It opens up like a hood of a car. My one buddy, Brian Armitage, he said, hey, I live like a half hour away from that guy. I says, yeah, okay, cool. So he picked it up for me, half hour away. And I just didn't have between money or time. Sometimes you have time, sometimes you don't have money, sometimes you have money, sometimes you don't have time. I just didn't pick it up. And anyways, another buddy of mine just happened to be passing through my area and passing through Brian's area, Ted Hooper. Ted, he picked it up for me in a trailer and dropped it off. So this has now been in my possession for 2 days in my garage. And anyways, I was on an online auction from Cedar Point. If you're not familiar with Cedar Point, it was like an old amusement parks back in the day. Okay. Anyways, there happened to be, in one of these auctions, every single piece of artwork and every single circuit board to Tail Gunner 2, EXIDY Tail Gunner 2, in the auction. And I won the auction for $300, and so I got that bezel, or the bezel there. I got this piece of artwork. I got everything, and all the circuit boards. I got all of it for $300. So what are we into now? How much is all this?
700 so far.
So we got like $700 into this. But when it's done, that's going to be a beautiful EXIDY Tail Gunner 2 cabinet. Anyways, I've been babbling enough. I wanted to peel this off on video just to see what's underneath it. Nothing. Looks like they
sanded it down
yeah.
with bare metal.
Buttholes. They sanded it down so they could paint it black. You gotta love that. But anyway, so in here is the wrong stick. This whole thing is busted up. The wood over here is busted up. Pieces of wood laying around. Oh wow, you know something funny? When I get inside this thing, my fat, alright, it may look decent right here in the camera. Well, oh no, my fat ass barely fits in here. And then the joystick wants to smash you in the balls. This is not made for big fat guys. But anyway, so we have some issues here, okay? We have a crack in the cabinet right here. Down here, yet another crack. Down here is a total cluster. Look at all this, man. All bad stuff. Big crack right here. And I don't know if you can see it in camera. Yeah, you probably can. The cabinet is actually separating all the way down the side. So there's a lot of work to do here. So to get started, I'm going to do some rough body work. Let's say I'll probably this video right here will probably be nothing but rough body work. So I got a rug. I'm going to lay the rug down. Now, a lot of you guys are probably going to disagree with what I'm going to do to fix this. But I've done it in the past. It's fared well. We'll see if it worked. If it doesn't work, then I'll have to go with plan B, okay? But what I'm going to do is, rather than replace this entire side, I'm going to router out a big deep section of it and fill it with fiberglass. So I'm going to fiberglass this cabinet back together rather than replace this whole side. We'll see how that works. I don't know. But okay, so let me lay this sucker down and let's start some body work. Before I lay this down, I think I should probably take all the guts out first. I just wanted to get a shot of how the back opens up. Go ahead and open it up, Kelly. Isn't that cool? As of now, it looks like someone hacked in a Taito power supply, a Wells Gardner 4600, and yeah, which happens to be a 13-inch. 13-inch. And up here you can see the Time Pilot circuit board cage and all that. So, oh, what's that? And the Time Pilot stuff. It'd be cool if there was, probably won't be, but just in case. I got some mouse chewings.
More Time Pilot stuff.
Yeah. It would have been cool if there was some sort of Tail Gunner 2 stuff left over, but
yeah,
I guess not. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and remove all these electronics. And oh, I noticed down here there's a level underneath this board, and I see some. I don't know if you can see it or not. There's the original speaker. There's possibly an isolation transformer, or possibly the transformer that would run the monitor on a Cinematronics monitor. I don't know. Yeah, boy, there's not many pictures. There's very little pictures of these on the internet, and I would greatly appreciate if any of you guys own an EXIDY Tail Gunner 2 cabinet, if you could please send me some pictures of what the insides look like. so I know where to put. Because if not, I'm just going to guess. I'm going to, mount screw boards everywhere where they don't belong, But okay, so let me pull this crap out, and then let's flip this over. Okay, it looks like that board just slides out the back. There's your Time Pilot board, and that's what it looks like without the board in. Unfortunately, this speaker, the surround of the speaker is shot. And I don't think that's original. There's no need for an isolate. It's just a standard isolation transformer. There's no need for a standard isolation transformer in this game. So, I don't know. I'm wondering if this runs a standard Cinematronics power supply or a vector beam power supply, or if they use their own type of transformer. I don't know. I see. It's hard to see without a light. I'll get a light in there. Alright, so let's tip this sucker on its side. Okay, well, I laid it down on its side. Remember how the back was separating? I put some really long screws right down the side and some wood glue. And that tightened it right up. It's right where it's supposed to be. And I put some some screws here, 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 here. And I know this piece was broken, right? And you might say, hey Jason, why don't you just replace the whole side? I don't want to replace the whole side. And partially because I'm not that good of a woodworker. I'm good with Bondo, but I'm not too good with cutting a straight line. Anyways, but there is a piece of wood on top, a piece of wood on the bottom. I just screwed right into that, and this is solid as hell. Very solid. I also wood glued the cracks, and I wood glued underneath this piece. I think that's actually fine. And I put some wood underneath this to help join this back together, and I put some wood underneath this to help join this back together, and the whole cabinet is actually very sturdy. Amazingly, because this was really sloppy, loose, falling apart just a few minutes ago. It's amazing what some wood screws could do. Anyways, that is actually, I was a little concerned. You know what I mean? I was a little concerned here. But it ended up being very damn sturdy. So yeah, I think I might just belt sand the living hell out of this and put a whole new coat of Bondo and stuff down here. I may fill this in with resin though. Now, over here, see this crack right here? That goes all the way through the cabinet. I can't just simply glue that together, and I can't just simply put a piece of wood behind it, because you can see the other side of this wood. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to dig a whole channel, a whole gouge out in this whole area with my router, and then I'm going to fiberglass it back together. Well, I hit this with the belt sander, and that is hard as a damn rock, buddy. All you have to say, that's definitely stronger than it was originally. And over here, also hard as a rock, buddy. Put some right here just to increase the strength of the cabinet. Put some here just to improve the adhesion of the Bondo. One thing that's nice about this resin is it sucks into the wood, so it's kind of like wood hardener. Anyways, in the rest of this stuff, I truly believe I can get away with simply Bondoing it. It's very, very solid. Very solid, actually. And Kelly is using the hair dryer to peel off the side art, or the vinyl side. One thing that sucks about this is the sides are not savable, okay? And unfortunately, Cinematronics cabinets, and apparently this EXIDY Cinematronics Vector Beam whatever cabinet has like a wood grain in it. Even though it's Snow White, there's a wood grain texture. Normally you wouldn't see the wood grain, you'd only be able to feel it because this is so dirty. All the dirt has gotten into the grooves. But no one makes a wood grain vinyl. So, not that I found. I know there's an alternative I've thought of. I thought maybe I could just get wood grain vinyl and then paint it white. But it sounds like a pain in the ass. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this cabinet. And I'm going to paint it white. Unfortunately, I can't get that wood grain anymore. Maybe maybe I'll do an experiment with on a piece of wood. See if I can brush that in, but I doubt I could, you know. We'll see. Okay, let me tell you where we're at now. I did some filling in some random places with some Bondo. Okay, I didn't do it all, I just did some of the major stuff. And I got a belt sander and I sanded it flat. There still needs to be some filling done right here. I can feel it in right here. There's one thing that I will tell you when it comes to Bondo work. Not that I'm the greatest expert in the world or anything, but one thing that I know for a fact is never trust your eyes. Always feel for the low spots. You will feel things that your eyes cannot see. And your eyes will deceive you just because of color changes. Anyways, so this is nice and solid again. But right here, I'm going to gouge this out. I'm going to dig this down real good with the belt sander. Oh, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. Hold on. I'm going to get the camera on the camera stand so I can show you something. Okay, we're now connected to the camera stand. Now, right here, you'll see that the Bondo starts here and goes out to here. All the way out to here. It's about 1.5 inches from here to here, maybe even 2 inches from here to here. Now, that isn't exactly where the wood stops. I gouged out some of the wood. Why? I'll show you. Okay. You don't want to... Okay, let's say this is our piece of wood. Okay? You know, let me zoom in. Let's say that's our piece of wood, okay? And it's supposed to be out here. Well, you can just fill this area with Bondo and hold it to the wood, but that's not really a good method. The best method is to get that same piece of wood, right here, let's make a little dotted area. And cut that piece of wood, grind down into it so it's shaped like that. So why would you grind this area down? Because you'll have way more surface area for this Bondo to bond to the piece of wood. And that's similar to what I did over here. What I actually did was I made 2 steps on the area that I filled in. It just adds a little extra strength. Down here and down here. Okay? Now let's fill in our imaginary section where the wood's supposed to be. And this is all Bondo right here. Now what I did is I drove a screw head in every so many inches, okay? And so now the Bondo will be has been formed around the screw head. So this will help hold that Bondo onto the wood. And if it gets any worse than, let's say, 3 inches, I wouldn't Bondo it. What I would do is I would, let's say here's your wood. If it gets any bigger than, let's say 2.5, 3 inches, just get another piece of wood and screw it in. You know what I mean? And then you could sand down that, you could wood glue that. It's amazing how good wood glue is. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is zoom out on the camera, show you my mess. I just had my son sweep up after me. But all around this whole cabinet looked like that. So what I'm going to do is I did a rough belt sand all around this area. This is 40 grit, and this had some very, very minor, but it was still there, swelling from water damage in the bottom. So I made sure to really eat up some wood down here, and I'm going to fill this all in. I'm going to do a skim coat of Bondo everywhere, and we'll see where it goes from there. Okay, before I lay some Bondo down to fill this in, let me show you something here. I sanded this down with a belt sander, so there's a fine grade all the way down to the bottom here, rather than try to Bondo against the wood falling apart. Plus, this gives me way more surface area of the Bondo to bond to. Okay, to fill this corner in, I actually had my wife hold a piece of cardboard bent over at 90 degrees here and here just to fill it in. And you might think, oh my God, look how much Bondo you put on. How will you ever sand that off? Because Bondo, it does suck to sand off if you have too much on. Well, let me show you a trick. This is called a rasp planer. Okay, auto body guys call it a cheese grater, and I'll show you why. After you put this on, as soon as it starts to get warm, eventually it'll get to a point where it feels like car tire rubber, kind of. You know what I mean? When it's in that consistency, you can actually grate it as if it's cheese. So, no worries if you're a little wasteful, because look how easy that comes off. Now keep in mind, if it's too soft, you don't want to be grinding at it because you'll screw it up. If it's too soft, you'll separate it from the wood. If it's too hard, the cheese grater really, or the rasp planer, really won't work very well. So it's kind of a soft spot, kind of a middle ground. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get it somewhere around here, which is still way too thick, and then I'm going to hit it with the belt sander when it fully cures. That way I don't have any chance of it separating from the wood. I'm just roughing in the original shape with this, but I'm not going to go down too crazy. You can. The cool thing about Bondo is when I want to get my T-molding groove back, I can actually router that right back into Bondo. It doesn't really hurt anything. Okay, my wife is holding this piece of cardboard here to try to get the general shape of the Bondo before I cheese grate it. This is the second coat after this piece here, and I was able to put some here, put some here. Let me walk over, we'll look at it. Yep. So let's let this Bondo harden. She's going to wait here for about 3 minutes holding it still. Okay, this is not fully set up yet. It's still a little soft, okay? And since it is, you can get a razor blade and cut that. It's way easier than waiting for it to dry. That way, when you do your sanding, it kind of helps to match the original piece of wood underneath here. You can also use this instead of the cheese grater to take away some of your sand work. But there's always a risk that you could get too close to the cabinet and then have to do all your Bondo work again. So I don't like to get too close with a razor blade. But yeah, so for example here, I could cut right here. And cut right here. And now it's closer to the way the wood looks, so it looks almost as if it's supposed to be that way. But when I do the sanding and stuff, I'll try to feather it in so it looks like it's wood and not Bondo. Okay, now this is supposed to be curved, so I want to try to follow the natural curve. And cheese graters, or these, I keep calling it a cheese grater, but these rasp planers are really good for that, getting that curve right before the Bondo starts to set up. Okay, so I sanded the entire cabinet with 100 grit paper, and there are all kinds of little tiny pinholes all over the cabinet. And rather than skim Bondo over all those pinholes, I'm going to mix up something that a lot of people call it Rondo. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Bondo brand fiberglass resin and mix it with Bondo brand Bondo. So what this is going to do is it's going to thin everything out. Can't get the damn lid off. Alright, yeah, open that one up. Screw it, if it opens. Alright, here's another thing of resin. We'll use this resin. Now, a lot of people will mix it 50-50. I'm not going to go full 50-50. But I'm going to go ahead and mix it about that. That might be closer to 50-50 than I wanted, but it's good enough. So anyways, the nice thing about this is it's when you mix these two together, you'll create a self-leveling concoction that's really easy to spread. So, gotta mix this up real quick. Now, if you buy, see, not all resins are epoxy resin, not all fiberglass resins are epoxy resin and so on. So you want to use an epoxy resin if you're going to mix up Bondo like this. So, you know, I've always used Bondo brand, but if you use a different brand, make sure you're mixing epoxy with it. Yeah, that's good. Also, some people call this milkshake. I suppose it kind of looks like a milkshake. I'm trying to get all the edges so I don't get any crap mixed in there. Any unmixed stuff. Okay. Now I'm going to wing it here. We're going to put yay amount of hardener. And they say you can get away with just using one type of hardener, but I always used both because it just feels right. I just feel like, hey, maybe there's some sort of mixture in there that needs to be, and I'm ignoring it. I don't know. So anyways, I'm gonna mix this up. Now, since the hardener is mixed in, we're at a race for time now. You gotta get this mixed up very well because you don't want any spots that won't harden, but at the same time, you know, we need to get this on the cabinet quick. So, what I'm going to do, hey Kelly, can you man the camera? I'm going to pour it on the cabinet. And let's work with this first. See how that smooths out? Look how thin that goes. And this is going to dry a little tougher than Bondo. It's going to be harder to sand. But I really like this method because it fills in all that crap, all the little divots on the cabinet, and so on. And when I start painting later, I won't have exposed wood, because that exposed wood is going to absorb some paint. But you guys get the idea. Okay, I applied it everywhere. Big, thin, humongous thin coat. And yes, some of the mixture, the Rondo, has absorbed into the wood, and that's okay. I'm totally okay with that because it's going to harden that wood, and it won't be so bad when I do the final sanding. So once again, all of this is going to be sanded, and whenever I lay resin down, when it's a thin coat like this, I wait, let's say 24 hours before I start sanding. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait till tomorrow, maybe this time, maybe even an extra day. But yeah, and as you can see, I have some high spots where I picked up the knife. No big deal. We're going to sand this thing. It's going to sand it all the way back down. And that's that. So I guess that's it, guys. This would be the end of part 1. Stay tuned for part 2. And have a good one, guys.